on first.
What happened?
I accidentally put the top coat on.
Oh,
I
hate that.
I can hear you guys, but I will be getting up to.
It's okay. What do we think of the last section?
Good.
I like that.
I like
Marina,
the
you weren't
end,
here for
kind of
any
the
of them,
wrap
right?
up.
I'm sorry. I had teacher conferences and I was so drained.
No, I know. I was just gonna say, what do you think, or what do you want to say from the previous ones?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I really like the whole book. I do like biographies, and I felt like I kind of like dark twisted things sometimes, and I think I felt really bad for what she went through, but I was very intrigued by just her attitude towards what happened to her, and I feel like I was equal parts disturbed and concerned for her and what she was describing that she went through as a child. But then also I felt like it, at the end of a chapter, she would kind of be like, oh, but this, and kind of be jokey about it. So I would be kind of like, wait a minute, but overall, I think I liked how she described things. I felt like it was realistic. I could picture her, going through it, all those bad things that happened to her. And throughout the book, I don't know, I felt a lot of empathy for her because it would seem like there were moments where things were going good and then it'd be boom, crash and burn with something else that was occurring to her. So yeah, that was my take overall. And it kind of continued through the third part too. What about you guys?
I think it's interesting, her perspective, because and also how humble she is, and I don't know, she seems very practical and yeah, I don't know, even though she got into the drinking and stuff, she wasn't getting arrested a lot of she wasn't I mean, she was pretty destructive to herself, but
she was a high functioning alcoholic or anxiety person.
Yeah, and she's not clearly she's I didn't want to do this. This isn't my passion. But she's not oh, my life's so bad. She's I know I have a good life. I help my family, but this just isn't my path. And it's kind of a cool perspective because she's not necessarily playing the victim. I don't know, she sees the good, she sees the bad, and I don't know. I think that's cool about her perspective.
I agree. She's definitely very humble.
Hi, Paola.
Hey, Paola.
It's okay.
I was also late.
Yeah, we just started. I think this book, I don't know, it's a little depressing, but I think it's a bit humorous at times, and it wasn't too depressing, but sometimes it was a little depressing.
Well, that was what was interesting to me, because the stuff that happened to her, I think, were really strong traumatic events, but sometimes, I feel either she was really resilient in a way, but also just very pragmatic, this is the situation I'm in, and she tried to keep going forward. I'm really glad she was kind of setting more boundaries too, and I guess the title really rings true. I can see why she would be glad to not have that traumatic side of her mom there, the part that's being really pushy and endorsing things that she doesn't want to do or that are not good for her.
Did any of you guys listen to the audiobook version?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't remember. I think it's when she realized by talking with a therapist, or maybe it was the life coach, or I don't know who, when she realized her mom had been abusing her and she started getting emotional. I didn't like that part, but just because she had very little emotion throughout the whole audiobook, and then she started to me, choke up a little bit. And also to have her finally realize the source of some of her issues and what her mom really did to her. Because so many kids go through life not knowing that they're being abused, and that they think it's like a form of love. But it's
Mhm.
not.
Yeah, and I think someone else mentioned like maybe her, what, how do you describe it? Like the way she talks is like kind of,
Monotone.
yeah, like kind of maybe part of her coping mechanism or like getting through it, or
Mhm.
maybe that's the only way she can talk about some of the hard stuff is in that way.
Yeah, and I feel like just mentioning her mom, like obviously that part where she was figuring out that her whole life and identity was a lie, I think it's still gonna cause some sort of turmoil in her, like bring out some emotion because like it still affects her. She thought her dad was her dad. She thought,
Yeah, part two.
oh, yeah, that was I did
The
not expect
bomb.
that. And then like the whole like, oh no, my mom was just out looking out for me. I was the one who, was trying to make things
Mhm.
better for her. But in reality, that's when the therapist, right, I think was like, hey, that was abuse. And I'm like, imagine someone's telling you that the one person you like revolved around, like they're like, no, everything she did was bad. It's like, so I'm sure it still hurts her.
It's hard. I was I don't know where I was like some training I think that I was like getting for teachers, and it was just like when kids are going through that type of like emotional abuse, they blame it on themselves because kids are like very egocentric sometimes, so they're like, oh, it must be something that I did, or there must be something wrong with me, and sometimes they can blame it on themselves, which is really sad because she went through a lot that didn't need to be happening, and it's hard to admit that like a parent can be like causing this intense trauma or PTSD or anxiety and things like that, and then once it leaves you.
But it was interesting also that the grandma was still, I mean, it's not like the grandma was gonna change after the death,
Mhm.
but I'm just like, it goes back to the beginning where they seem like kids, the grown-ups seem like kids, and like
Mhm.
Jennette had to be the freaking adult when she wasn't an adult.
Yeah.
I didn't like that the grandma was still like, oh, you don't call me, everyone else calls me, and I'm just like, oh my god, like she's struggling, leave her alone.
I
But
liked her
yeah.
more than the mom. The grandma was too much for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, god.
I wonder if that was the author's way of kind of saying like maybe, I mean, because we don't really know much about what happened to the mom in her childhood, but I wonder if that was like a hint that like, it was kind of like cyclical or generational as well.
Yeah, the grandma's trauma onto the mom, and then the mom onto her baby. Yeah.
Did they? Because I thought her real dad, it was an affair, right? They weren't married prior.
That's what
No,
it
it was an
said.
affair. For 7 years.
Mm.
It's crazy. It's crazy that there was even a custody battle, according to him. Because, like, how would they not? I mean, I guess they're kids, so they don't know, but it's crazy.
Yeah. Let me look back through my book here.
Yeah.
Did you also notice, like, in the book, at least like the parental male figures were not painted like it was their, they didn't have any responsibility for what the mom was doing. Like the dad or the Mark, whatever his name was just kind of there as like an empty shell. And then the grandpa, she just loved her grandpa. But it was like the women were
I
like,
think
Well, now we know why though, like why the dad was so absent and like not there
Mhm.
because he, you know, for whether it was the right thing or not, he just didn't seem to be very connected to them, and he wasn't really, you know, very present. Which makes more sense because we were all saying like, why is this dad like
Not being
so emotionally unavailable?
Mhm.
But I think the grandpa seemed to come off a little bit more warm. It was just more that he wasn't, I don't know.
Th-
Maybe
there
it's because he's
was-
older, or maybe because
Yeah.
the grandma so kind of takes over.
Mm-hmm.
There was one part I remember from either the second or first part where the grandpa was kind of talking to the mom, like, hey, this is too much for her or something, but I don't think like the mom really listened. It was weird how at the end, the author says like, oh, she could only see her grandpa when the grandma was there too. I'm like, okay, that's sketchy.
Like it seems like she wanted to see her grandpa, but
I think she was very wise in the when she was describing, you know, like, oh, I don't want to be remembered for like something I did when I was a child. Like I never thought about it how I reference certain actors, actresses, or you know, just celebrities for things they've done. And it's like that one movie I remember them for. And I'm like, I wouldn't want someone to remember like the way that she described it. I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should, you know, but that's just how it is when you're not really following, you know, one artist, celebrity, or
Mhm.
actor, actress. But the way she described it, I was like, wow, that makes her seem like she, for her age, she's pretty wise. And I like that she mentioned that.
She knew what
It
she
makes
wanted,
sense
yeah.
into us, you know?
Yeah, after I think reading the first part, I looked like at a few YouTube videos, just like little clips of the iCarly show. And I felt really bad because, you know, like the character she presents is like very outgoing, very assertive, and just kind of like peppy. But then like reading everything that must have been happening in the background, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I never watched iCarly. I asked my sister, and she said it was like after I stopped, you know, watching those kinds of shows. But we were both talking about it and we're like, it's crazy how like the perception of like what we see in the show was so different than what was really going on in the background. Also the feeling of just probably not having anyone to talk to about it. You know, she probably felt like if she spoke out about it, it'd be a betrayal to her mom or something. So she had to cope with it mostly by herself.
I also tried to look up her, what's his name? Steven, the boyfriend.
Oh
who
yeah,
gets the
Me
friend,
too.
me too.
because she's not naming them by their real names.
I realized that. I
she
think it's
did
Jesse.
name. Shouldn't she name the other guy by the real name?
Joe?
The first boyfriend,
Joe.
the paparazzi guy.
The one, the guy she went to Hawaii with.
Because I was able to find him, but I just found photos. Like I didn't. Maybe the name was different. Because I was curious when she was like describing the paparazzi photos. Like I looked them up.
Oh.
I
I
think
did
the
too.
Steven guy was Jesse, because then it shows like that he was in a Netflix series with her from 2015 to 2016. So I was like, oh, then that's where I realized that that's not his real name. Because I was like, damn, they really went through it. Like, what does he look like? Or what happened?
Once I couldn't find him, I was like, I give up. But I did see the Jessica and I was like, she never mentioned Jesse. I was like, let me not go too deep into it. It doesn't matter. It's okay.
And then in her acknowledgments,
Mhm.
she thanked Ari, her best friend. Does she mean Ariana Grande?
I doubt it.
Because
I
what I
thought she
thought
was talking
too.
about her boyfriend.
she was very upset.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah, same. I
book.
was like, who the heck is Ari? I was trying to look at like the acknowledgments or like if it was like someone who helped her write the book, but I couldn't find it.
I thought it was her partner or her boyfriend, but
Oh,
I didn't look up.
because normally they put those last also.
I also thought it was interesting with that whole like hate against Ariana Grande. And I get it. I mean, she wanted to do her own thing and they didn't let her. And then, you know, like, yeah, that was because I thought the hate, not necessarily the hate, but like the falling out, I thought it was with Miranda Cosgrove.
Mhm.
I remember seeing something in like the media way back when. And I was like, oh, they were never actually friends. Interesting. But then I'm glad that she kind of came back and they were talking a little. So I'm like, okay, no beef. But Ariana, I did not see that one coming.
Yeah, it was sad to hear that she and Miranda drifted apart, but it doesn't seem like it was like, it was just like they started doing different things. Like it wasn't because of a incident or anything.
Like the way she described it, where it was like, this is the one friend that I associate with like this one show. And we're not doing that show anymore. So we're not as close.
I looked up that Colton guy too, because there was like, wait, is it Colton Haynes? But no, it's some other guy named Colton. And I don't think they're really friends anymore either, even though he did something like he was like commenting on her post, but all of his pictures, like she's not in them or anything. So I also don't think that they're friends. He's a director now. He directs like TV episodes.
I wonder if she thought she maybe, even though it seems to have happened naturally for some, but maybe she wanted distance, because I imagine, like, for example, Miranda, since like they have like iCarly linking them, but it's also like a time where she was, going through all the bulimia and, things, maybe it's like, even though they're friends, like I wonder if, if she ever sees Miranda, like does she get reminded of like all these things, and more unpleasant memories rather than nice ones from the show.
It could be for sure. Like you want to just start over a brand new leaf and you just completely cut things off from your previous life, even if,
I have never in my life heard of someone mixing vodka and red wine.
yeah.
I was like, I didn't know if that was a
yeah,
thing,
that's
or if she just like
crazy.
she needed something stronger, or what.
Seems like at that point it's like
Whatever goes.
yeah. I mean, the whole fact that she was throwing up everything, I don't know how she
Didn't get something more
survived.
serious. The part with the tooth, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I
Ugh.
know.
And I thought at one point she'd like end up in the hospital.
Me too.
And that's where she would like realize that she needed to stop. But
Like maybe when she reaches like rock
Crazy.
bottom or something.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing the way that she was describing everything, that she didn't say she ended up hospitalized or needing to go or having Steven take her or something, or someone find, Steven's whole story too, I did not expect that either.
It was a definitely big twist. Yeah.
Like, I am Jesus Christ. What?
Yes.
What? And
Yeah.
in that point, I'm like, she doesn't need this. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, I
It's
felt
like
bad for
drop the
Steven,
bomb.
but more
Yeah.
for her too, because I mean it's about her, and I was like, okay, he's seeing she needs help. Maybe like this will be someone that can be really supportive and great for her. And not saying he didn't help at all, but after it seemed like just like what the book says, very codependent. And I'm like, oh no, like this isn't good.
Yeah. What do you guys rate it?
Comparing it against like other biographies I've read, I think I forgot what I gave it on Goodreads, but I'm like at a 4.5. I feel it like touched on a lot of different subjects and perspectives, and I think like the way the book moved like throughout her life, it kept going. It wasn't too slow, and I think everything she said was meaningful and kind of like linked together for the most part. I liked how it ended too, where she was like, I'm not going back. And I thought that was good because like she's hopefully letting go of that guilt that is associated with her and her mom. And,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully she's coming past it.
I gave it a 3.5 just because I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have listened to the audiobook because this is me just being critical. A lot of the humor I did not like.
Mm.
And I know it's her life and she has a very tragic tale, but I just thought it was a little try hard. But I really liked at the end when she was talking about what she did miss about her mom. And I thought, she has had a very interesting life. And that she is trying to do her best considering how some celebrities that are childhood actors really just destroy their life. And she's trying. But yeah. And I also thought the ending, it was like kind of, I would have wanted a little bit more. I don't know. I was kind of shocked when my audiobook was like, oh, there's 20 minutes left.
Like, what's gonna happen? What? Leave me here. I'm kind of conflicted with the rating. I want to give it more. One, I don't read a lot of biography. I think maybe I've only read one. So I don't know where, it's different. I want to give it a 4, but I'm between a 3 and a 4 because it was interesting. I think I would have, if I wasn't in the club, I think I would have read it just because everyone was talking about it. And I think I would have been like, yeah, it was all right. It wasn't like amazing. And I do like finding out the little things that, I mean, obviously, if she hadn't written this book, we'd be like, oh, she just doesn't like acting, or, oh, like, why didn't she come back to the reboot kind of thing? So I did like it. Maybe I'll do more like 3.75, because it was easy to read and it was actually interesting and little surprises here and there.
I think that I would give it a 4. I thought it was a really impressive autobiography. Like, she clearly has a lot of talent as a writer, and I felt like she was being really thoughtful and also very like exposing herself, but like all in a very like self-aware way. It felt like, she needed time and space to write this book, and it felt like very cathartic, and I really like appreciated that. I think that the fact that it was short is probably a good thing for most people, but for me, it made me like want a little bit more. Like, I almost wish it had been a little longer, but also I think most people like will appreciate the fact that she kept it really streamlined and like moving along, and like it was like very smart, I think, the way that she did it, but I kind of wish like there'd been more details about some things. But yeah, I think it's a really impressive book, and I think that it will help a lot of people. And because it's become so popular, You know, I think it will help a lot of people. It will illuminate a lot of things for people and other people that have been through abuse like this.
Mhm.
And, you know, hopefully now she can have avenues to be able to move beyond that child actor, you know, label and have other options.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm like so debating, but I think mine would be like 4.3. I've only ever read another biography, and it was Michelle Obama,
Super
and that
good
one was
too.
amazing. So that one had a lot of detail, and yeah, definitely this one, like it was good, and definitely it made me realize, like, as a kid, obviously we don't know what's going on as kids, but just thinking later, like, damn, like that's really what they. Obviously, not everyone goes through it, but just her, she was going through that while she was acting like so peppy. It's just crazy and so.
Mhm.
And I mean, everyone's going through something, but it's just crazy that you never think celebrities are going through that. So it was definitely eye-opening and just a good read. Yeah, so it was pretty good. I'd say it was pretty good. Definitely wish it had more detail, because even though it was short, like there was just some things that could have been like elaborated more, but it was so good.
Crystal
I
said she
think,
gave it a 4. That's it. Sorry.
oh yeah,
She
I
didn't say
think
that. 4.
I'm between like a 3.75 and a 4. Because like I liked it. I really liked the style. Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely for an autobiography, it was good. It had obviously like depressing content, but her humor and frankness kind of made it like tolerable. And then I just don't know if I'd be like, oh, it was so good, you should read it. But
Yeah.
like I thought it was a good read, but maybe that would keep me at a 3.75 because I'm not like, oh, everyone needs to read it.
I feel like the whole eating disorder part, I feel like I want to know more about it. I don't know if I would recommend it to my friends if they've gone through it, because I feel like that's just too much. Like,
Can be triggering, yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, I'm not dealing with that. So, when I was reading, I was like, oh my gosh, how can you do this? So, I can't imagine people that have gone through that to be like, and you know, like if they're okay and they just kind of relapse and start. So, I'm just like, oh, it's hard.
It is.
Yeah. Overall, good book.
Yeah.
Especially because none of us were really like iCarly fans. I think the fact that like we actually really enjoyed it, even though we didn't have like a previous attachment to her, is like pretty impressive.
That's telling, yeah. I think it's just like significant just in the like way it shows like how parents and adults can have like such a huge impact on children, positive or negative, especially like with the acting industry. And it's just like I'm trying to think back on other books I've read like this one. And I remember, I mean, this book has like much more extreme like physical abuse, but I remember reading like A Child Called It, like as a really young kid actually, and I was like, oh my gosh, what does this like mean? You know, and my mom and I like talked about it when I was younger. And I think I read the entire series, and then now reading this one, I just like see like how it's like harm, but in a different way, but still, you know, of course, bad. And that it lasted like so many years for her. It's just a lot of impact that words can have, you know, and the young children are like so malleable and they notice everything. And like when they have someone that they love or care about, or like a role model, like they do want to please them and they don't always understand like, okay, this is good or this is, you know, not good in terms of treatments. That part, like I did like that it's a strong example of that.
I have a question actually, and
Mhm.
I should have brought it up earlier, but I only just thought of it. Would he, if so one of us does have children, but if we had a child, would you let them be a child actor after reading this book?
No.
No.
I
Oh,
would
heck
not.
yeah. if I was gonna make money,
You just said heck yeah. Julie, you and I in this book, we're like the same right now.
at one point I like want to get the twins into acting because I've heard like they like twins as actors,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
But then like, well, this girl from our high school, you know, Nina Babai,
Oh
like
my
her
God.
kids do some acting or photography. I don't know. So I was asking her about it, and she said it like really does not pay that much
Oh.
unless you get a big contract,
Mhm.
like you know the diapers or the baby food. But
Mhm.
I was like, okay, I don't think it's worth my time.
Too much stress.
My kids aren't very cooperative. Like they don't smile.
Oh.
I feel like knowing what it does to kids, I'd be conflicted. Like, let's say your child is super into like musicals or like, I mean, not like babies, but like when they get a little bit older and they start getting some sort of interest. And if they say, I want to act or blah, 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 then I'm like, yeah, sure. But I don't think I'd be like her mom and be like, you have to do it because I wanted to do it and blah, blah, you know, which I don't think I'd do it as little kids. Maybe when they're older and they're able to, not that toddlers or, you know, 5-year-olds can say, hey, they have a good mind. No, but I feel like I'd have a better perspective of like, okay, these people seem sketchy or they're asking too much from you, you know, like I'd feel like I'd be more aware.
Mhm.
But only if they
Do you
want.
remember when you were little that you went and you did a commercial?
I was gonna bring that up. I told the first meeting, I think it was Katie and Julie, maybe Crystal too. I told them that when she was talking about the little commercials she was doing or the auditions, I actually did one when I was younger and I remember doing it. It was about peanut butter and they were telling me that I liked mine creamy and my brother liked it crunchy, but creamy was better. So Skippy peanut butter, you know? But I don't remember what happened after. And one time I did ask my mom, I think, and she said that I didn't want to leave my friends. So, because you know, when you do different auditions or whatever, you go here and there. And I was like, no, I want to stay with my friends. So, yeah, that was me.
Mhm.
I did one and then that was it. One and done.
Except it was my dad that took you, not my mom. But yeah.
Yeah, but my mom's the one who told me that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do remember like there was an older lady staring at me and telling me to repeat the stuff. And I'm like, this is okay. I like it creamy. My brother, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Quite interesting. Which see, going through that, I'm like, when I put my kid, I don't know. It seems a little, you're like, what's going on? Why are they asking me to repeat it? Why are they giving me a look? Yeah.
I think just also with the fact that, well, first of all, I would not. I would say I will support you learning about acting and you know acting in your free time until you're 18, and then I will support you going on your own path and being an actor. And I just think there's too much exploitation and it's and you never really know whether it's their choice or not because they can't actually consent. But I think another reason why I wouldn't want to do that is just with social media, because like there's no anonymity anymore, and like you could just be thrust into this situation, and like unless you have a lot of really like a really strong family foundation and like mental health counseling and stuff, and like I just feel like I would want them to not have to deal with that as they're growing up. And that, I don't know, like same thing with like if my kid wanted to be an influencer or something, like I think I would just be like, if you want to do it, like wait till you're legal and then decide to do it, because you're a child still. So I don't know, who knows? I'm saying all this and kids might just do whatever they want. And then I'm that like wag your finger. Like my parents were like that. They were very strict and were like, you have to do this. So maybe I'm just turning into my parents. But
But it can be hard because if some kid really does want to act
Mhm.
and they're at, so like for me, my parents were very, like my parents didn't pierce my ears when I was a baby because my mom was like, well, I don't know if you're going to want your ears pierced. But then when I was 9, I asked if I can get them pierced. They were like, okay, go ahead. Even though like some could say that was too young, some could say, oh, that's fine.
Mhm.
But then there's some kids, like if they're really into acting, you can put them into like children's theater or I don't know, do a play at the Old Globe.
Mhm.
They don't have to be like a world star
Mhm.
right away.
Mhm.
or even go to like a performing arts high school.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true.
Or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
because I
saying
feel
all
like
this, but like, you never know. I'm not a parent.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel like the part where they're not really experiencing the life as a child and the normal life, I think also affects them. So I think unless they're born and they're like, yeah, I want to do this, like so much passion, and be like, okay, cool. But if not, I feel like that what Katie mentioned seems like a nice little compromise of like, yeah, you can do these little things and have that as a little passion on the side. And if you really, really want to devote yourself, like when you get older, go to some like art school or,
Yeah, I think
acting school.
from what I've seen too, like it's good to like have kids pursue their interests, but also let them know like their interest isn't like the only thing in the world. I feel like some kids I've seen like, especially this is more with sports, but they got very intense about it. And over the past 2 years, I've seen, well, mostly because before, we were on Zoom, I've seen like such intensity with soccer and it's like, oh, we have to win. And it's so insanely competitive. And, the students, they can't really see past, oh, I want to win at soccer. And it's like recess at school. It's supposed to be for fun. It's not competitive. It's not supposed to be competitive or as competitive at school, but it's just like, it's like an obsession. And I'm like, there's other things besides winning or, there's another game we can try to play. And I do notice that. So I'm just like, whoa. So I agree with what Paula said. Like they need a lot of talking about like, okay, this is what it means to win, or this is what it means to lose, or this is what it means to, have success the first time or not. And it doesn't mean like you're less or anything like that too.
Mm-hmm. Teach them to be well-rounded.
It's like pulling teeth to get them off the soccer field sometimes.
Especially with the games and the World Cup and all that. Like, no, I'm gonna be a professional soccer player. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I have some students that wear their soccer jerseys every day because soccer is life.
Especially now, the World Cup is out.
Oh yeah.
And Argentina lost.
I know. I saw that Messi didn't do too well. I'm like, my students are gonna be
so
shook when they
crazy.
come back to school. Yeah.
That's so crazy.
I haven't kept up.
That was the first game, wasn't it? Oh no.
No.
The first game today.
Oh, at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Well, that's why.
My family's team is playing Thursday. Yeah, Uruguay.
Oh, you're from Uruguay? Oh, I love Uruguay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my dad's born there, but like his parents weren't born there, so it's like that's our team, but we're not like I don't know. We're not like ethnically Uruguayan. We're culturally. I don't know.
Yeah. That's so cool.
It counts. Take it. Take it and run with it. Did you guys bring your book suggestion?
Yes.
Yay.
I'm just gonna vote this time. I'm excited to hear what you guys have.
I lost my notebook. Can't find it. Crystal did not give me a book suggestion. So we'll see. Who wants to go first?
I can go.
Okay.
So this book is called A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos. I'm pretty sure it's fantasy. So I don't know if we've done fantasy. I know we've done sci-fi,
I
kind
feel
of.
like the Grace Year was kind of like one that we got close-ish to fantasy on. But it's more like dystopian. Have we done sci-fi officially?
I don't think officially.
I think it's been more dystopian.
Mhm.
But it takes place after a world-altering event called the Rapture, where Earth is splattered into pieces, leaving clumps of isolated floating islands called arcs.
Hmm.
The main character, Ophelia, a young girl who lives on an arc called Anima, where she's able to communicate with objects that she touches when she touches them. And so it says it's a fantasy thriller involving magic, mystery, court intrigue, and splashes of forbidden romance. It's 500 pages of world floating, cities, high level trickery, political schemes, palace rivalries, and where nothing is what it seems to be. So that's my pick. And it has a very interesting cover. It's like a floating,
Let's see
it
it.
shows the floating
Ah,
city.
I see it. That's cool.
And it's
Sounds-
part of a, I will warn you, it's part of a series.
I saw that.
Love it.
So if you're intrigued, the following two we follow, or you're on your own, kid. That's, I'm reading the thing. That's pretty cool. I like it.
Oh, I do like the cover.
Good
That's
choice, good
cool.
choice.
It has 4 stars on Goodreads.
Mhm.
So
Is it in French? Or-
it's, I think it's, I don't know, the main character is half Cuban, half Irish.
Mm.
I think it might have been translated, but I don't know.
Because I see it says La Passe. I don't know French, but I feel like that's French. La Passe Miroir.
When I
think
looked up
so.
winter books, a lot of them were translated.
Ooh.
What was the author again? I want to make sure I'm looking at the right one.
Christelle Dabos.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, I see. This other one that came up is just Winter's Promise, not 8 Winter's Promise. Thank you.
The Mirror Visitor. Ooh. Cool.
I'll go next. It actually has some similarities with what Katie was saying in certain ways because it's part of a series. It is originally a Swedish book.
Oh.
I saw it on a lot of lists for like winter books. It's called Bear Town
Ooh, I did see that one.
Oh,
and by Frederick Bachman, who's written some other books. The description is: people say Beartown is finished, a tiny community nestled deep in the forest. It's slowly losing ground to the ever encroaching trees. But down by the lake stands an old ice rink built generations ago by the working men who founded this town. And in that ice rink is the reason people in Beartown believe tomorrow will be better than today. Their junior ice hockey team is about to compete in the national semifinals, and they actually have a shot at winning. All the hopes and dreams of this place now rest on the shoulders of a handful of teenage boys. Being responsible for the hopes of an entire town is a heavy burden, and the semifinal match is the catalyst for a violent act that will leave a young girl traumatized and a town in turmoil. Accusations are made, and like ripples on a pond, they travel through all of Beartown, leaving no resident unaffected. Beartown explores the hopes that bring a small community together, the secrets that tear it apart, and the courage it takes for an individual to go against the grain. In this story of a small forest town, Frederick Bachman has found the entire world. What a lofty last sentence. But I mean, I think there's themes of like like sports, and
Mhm.
then like family, or like a community town kind of thing. And then there's also the crime that happened to the girl. So
Yeah.
kind of touching on like the town in terms of like what we did for what's it called?
The
Stephen King.
Jerusalem's Lot
Yeah, kind of
or Salem's Lot.
Salem's Lot,
Salem's Lot.
kind of like the town, learning about the town, and then a crime happens. And
It reminded me of Firekeeper's Daughter too, with like the crime and the small town vibes.
that was cool. Winter.
Okay, I'll go next.
Okay.
Mine's called One Day in December by Josie Silver. Lori is pretty sure love at first sight doesn't exist anywhere but the movies. But then through a misted up bus window one snowy December day, she sees a man who she knows instantly is the one. Their eyes meet, there's a moment of pure magic, and then her bus drives away. Certain they're fated to find each other again, Lori spends a year scanning every bus stop and cafe in London for him. But she doesn't find him, not when it matters anyway. Instead, they reunite at a Christmas party when her best friend Sarah giddily introduces her new boyfriend to Lori. It's Jack, the man from the bus. It would be. What follows for Lori, Sarah, and Jack is 10 years of friendship, heartbreak, missed opportunities, roads not taken, and destinies reconsidered. One Day in December is a joyous, heartwarming, and immensely moving love story to escape into a reminder that fate takes inexplicable turns along the route to happiness. So it's kind of like a love triangle. So,
Hmm.
10 years, how angsty.
Mhm.
Oh my God.
yeah.
Especially if she was waiting and then he's like, oh, okay. And then
That does sound angsty.
oof.
Yeah, it was on Reese's Book Club, 4 stars on Goodreads.
Oh, that's a good sign.
Oh, Reese. Ah. I'm between two. One of them, it seems like it could go sad, and I don't know if I want to go sad. So I'm looking at the other one. It just involves I was reading and it said there's like two sisters who grew up differently. I think one of them left her town, the other one didn't. Then they have to come back because the dad is dying. And I'm like, do I want to go there? I don't know. So let me look at the other one. You don't have a book, Dailin?
No.
Okay, so maybe I could put both of them.
Yeah.
There you go. I don't have one either. So.
One of them is the one I was talking about is by the author of, I think Julie read the book and Katie the Four Winds.
Oh, I read it too. Kristen Hannah.
Yeah, but the book is called Winter Garden.
Ireland.
I think that's the author. Hold on. Winter Garden. Kristen Hannah.
Oh yeah.
Um,
The Four Winds was super depressing.
someone said that she tugs at your heartstrings, and I was like, ooh, maybe I want to cry, but now I feel like I don't want to cry. That's why I'm like, should I bring it up? But let's give it a go. So Pacific Northwest Apple Country provides a beautiful, chilly setting for this family drama, ignited by the death of a loving father whose two daughters have grown apart from each other. And from their acid wow, acid-tongued Russian-born mother. Wow, that's intense. After assuming responsibility for the family business, 40-year-old empty nester Meredith finds it difficult to carry out her father's dying wish that she take care of her mother. Meredith's troubled marriage, her troubled relationship with her mother, and her mother's increasingly troubled mind get in the way. Nina, Meredith's younger sister, takes a break from her globe-trotting photojournalism career to return home to do her share for their mother. How these three women find each other and themselves, oh my gosh, with the help of vodka and a trip to Alaska, competes for emotional attention with the story within a story of World War II.
Mm.
Yeah. So that one is Winter Garden by Kristen Hanna. The other one I found was called Snow Child. And this was interesting. There's like two people that come and make up a snowman, and then the snowman disappears, and then there's a girl. So it's kind of, I guess, maybe fantasy-ish. I don't know. It's yeah, it's like a fairy tale.
Like Jack Frost.
Kind of sounds like that.
Mhm.
Where's the bio? Where's the thingy? Oh, it's also in Alaska. Huh, interesting. It's a couple's lives are changed forever by the arrival of a little girl. It's wild and secretive on their snowy doorstep. So I guess it's a couple. Jack and Mabel are childless. They're drifting apart. He's breaking under the weight of the work of the farm. She's crumbling from loneliness and despair. In a moment of levity during the season's first snowfall, they build a child out of snow. The next morning, the snow child is gone, but they glimpse at a young, blonde-haired girl running through the trees. This little girl, who calls herself Fina, seems to be a child of the woods. She hunts with the red fox at her side, skims lightly across the snow, and somehow survives alone in the Alaskan wilderness. As Jack and Mabel struggle to understand this child, who could have stepped from the pages of a fairy tale, they come to love her as their own daughter. But in this beautiful, violent place, things are rarely as they appear. And what they eventually learn about Fina will transfer all of them.
Oh, dang.
Ooh. Interesting.
I have another one if we need 6.
Ooh, cool.
Also by Kristen Hanna. It's called Comfort and Joy. Like the song. I don't know what song that's from the Christmas songs, but I know it's a lyric.
We will bring you comfort and joy. Something like that. Is that like one of the Christmas songs?
Mm-hmm.
I might be quoting that wrong.
I don't know which one, but it is. So it's
Oh,
definitely Christmas.
That's a pretty cover. That's Christmas all over.
Yes. So it says a modern day fairy tale. Joy used to love Christmas more than any other time of year, and now as the holidays approach, she finds herself at a loss. Recently divorced and estranged from her sister, she can't summon the old enthusiasm she had for celebrating. So without telling anyone, she buys a ticket and boards a plane bound for rural Northwest. Her plans go wrong. The plane crashes in the darkness of a forest.
Oh my God.
And as Joy and her fellow passengers walk away from the wreckage, the plane explodes. There, amid the towering trees, Joy makes a bold decision to leave her ordinary life behind and embark on a new adventure. In comes Daniel, who has returned from the small town of Rain Valley following the death of his ex-wife. He is now a single father facing his son's first Christmas without a mother. 6-year-old Bobby isn't making it easy. He's closing himself off and surrounding himself with imaginary friends. Joy and Bobby meet and they form an instant bond. Thrown together by fate, these wounded souls will be touched by the true spirit of Christmas. Very dramatic.
Yeah, it
Like,
sounds
yeah,
intense.
yeah.
I was
Like,
I don't
bam,
really
bam,
watch the
bam.
show. Grey's Anatomy.
Yes. It's giving Grey's Anatomy for sure. Cool.
This one is not a series, so you do not have to read 4 books.
The first one sounds cool though.
Mhm.
I don't know if we'd continue a series or if we'd
Read
have
it on
to-
their own.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be tough. We'll see.
There's been a few books where it's been a series, but I haven't read the rest of the series because it just wasn't interesting enough.
I feel like it's hard to have a good first book and then also be good on the
Going.
second and third, like I feel like the second one is always like something was missing, but you continue just to be like, okay, let's see if it gets better or like what happens. And usually for me, it's always the first book is the good one. You just can't beat it. So I'll do the form. No meeting
good.
next week. So I'll just announce the book whenever you guys fill out the form, but no rush. We have a long way to go. Hope you guys enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Happy
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Eat
Thanksgiving.
food.
Gobble,
Happy
gobble.
Thanksgiving. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good night.
Good night.